We are getting ready to go to Paris, my friends. Joseph Valtellini, former welterweight champion of the world, alongside me, myself, and I. Todd, Grisham, I'm in my mother's basement as usual. Joe, are you pumped to be headed back to Europe?
I'm really excited. We've had some good shows in Paris. We've been to Nice last time, and the first time we've called the show together was in France, so that's exciting.
That's right.
Yeah, our first broadcast call was in Nice together.
Yeah, down near the French Riviera. We had just strolled the beach holding hands. We really bonded, got that
Yes,
chemistry going.
romantic dinners. Yeah, a moment I'll never forget.
Yeah. Hey, well, we got a special guest coming up. We'll be hearing from Paul Nichols, the referee for Glory Kickboxing, one of the distinguished referees. I got to speak with him yesterday, so we'll roll that interview in just a second. But we got to talk about the main event coming up in Paris, Glory 42, Doumbé versus Holtzkin, the rematch for the welterweight championship. As you studied tapes, Joe, as you've done your research, what more can you tell us about this matchup that maybe we're not thinking about?
Well, I still think it's going to be the same fight as last time, but the biggest difference to me is I think there's a fire under Nicky right now. And watching those Inside Glory shows and those pre-fight interviews, he needs to get out there and he needs to just lay it out on the line. There was some criticism with Nicky that he was being too relaxed, holding back a little too much in his previous fights. But I think this fight, at collision with the first one with Doumbé really sparked a fire. So I think he's going to come out banging and really put in that pressure. So I think it really depends on what Nicky comes. That's going to make the difference in this fight.
Well, we saw Congolo put a lot of pressure on Doumbé, but he just couldn't hit him. Is it going to make that big of a difference with Holtzkin applying pressure?
Well, I think Holtzkin will stay in the pocket a little bit more, where Congolo was a little bit more in and out, which made it easier for Doumbé to move, where I think Nicky's a little bit more intelligent on staying a little bit closer, and I think that's how you beat Doumbé. You got to stick to him like glue from the beginning. Don't let him move. Don't let him be too slick, and look to attack his body. You don't want to hit his head because he's too slick.
Yeah. Another great fight, speaking of Congolo, will be the headliner of the Superfight series, also in Paris. He's taken on a guy named Ledon, is his last name, Johan Ledon. And I've watched his fights, and man, this guy is good. He actually beat Doumbé 3 years ago. This guy's legit. I'm surprised he hasn't been on a Glory card before.
Yeah, he's really good. He's fought, man, top guys in the division. Like, he's fought guys like Yotsenklai and top different names. Like, let me pull up a few that he's fought, which makes it insane, the experience he has. Let me see here.
Nice prep work, Joe. You can't do this before. You can't do this before we start the show.
He's a win over Murat Grigorian, which is huge, but that's a 2011 fight. He's fought Karim Gaji 3 times. He's fought Yotsenklai, which those Muay Thai fans watching know how big that is. He's fought John Wayne Parr, Karapet, who was another Glory contender. He has a win against Doumbé, fought guys like Cosmo Alexander, Steve Moxon. So this guy's really legit and has over 140 professional fights, which is insane. So, yeah, he's really experienced and deserves that big shot against Congolo.
Not to mention, he just had, I believe, 2 fights in one night on May the 20th. Do you have that in front of you?
I saw that.
He just fought. And he accepted this.
With the tournament, but I saw his last fight. He scored, I think, 3 knockdowns and got the decision in his last fight. But, yeah, he's good. He's powerful. He's technical. He's experienced. I think he's going to give Congolo a very tough fight.
And in that final that you were just talking about on May the 20th, it looked like his kicks weren't being effective, so he just decided, I'm going to box a little bit, and just destroyed the guy. So he's got several weapons. He can go low. He can go high, hands, feet, knees, whatever.
Yeah, he boxes well. He's got some good kicks on the outside. Muay Thai experience, kickboxing experience. He boxes well. Comes from a good camp. He comes from the same camp as Dylan Salvador, I believe, the former camp of Fabio Pinca. So, yeah, he's got a good team behind him, too.
All right, without further ado, I mentioned that we have an interview with Paul Nichols. I got to speak to him yesterday. Some very controversial knockdowns or not knockdowns recently, especially at Holland. So let's hear from him now. And here he is, without his referee shirt on. He looks so handsome. Paul Nichols, thanks for joining us. Where are you right now?
I'm sat in my living room. I'm chilling out. Just finished work. It's 7:15 here at night now, so obviously it's not nice and warm and sunny where you are. The evening is upon us, and yeah, it will soon be dark.
So you're in England?
In Blighty. Yes, I'm in Blighty, good old England.
Blighty. All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming on the show. The first question I have for you is one that me and Joe always argue about on the broadcast. What constitutes a knockdown? Obviously, there's some that are black and white, but when a fighter goes to throw a kick, gets hit with a shot, and goes down, that seems to be the gray area. Explain it to us.
Okay, so constitute of a knockdown is anything more than 2 soles of the feet, which is rendered to the canvas, or whether it would be the opposing fighter supporting them from going down, or whether it would be the ropes holding them up. So that is a clear, definitive knockdown. However, there is scenarios of what we would call a flash knockdown, which we would wave off. There was an incident in 41 where it was the featherweight tournament, and I can't recall the fighters, but basically there was a quick knockdown, and he literally, it's a bounce. His knee touched the canvas. As he touched the canvas, he bounced straight up, and it's classed as a flash. So as a referee, we can deem that as not a definitive knockdown and saying it's classed as a flash. So we overrule that.
In boxing, however, I know you're not a boxing referee, but that is constituted as a knockdown. Anything besides the soles of the feet touches, even if it's a flash knockdown, it's a knockdown. Yeah,
it's down to referee discretion.
Okay.
So it's how we deem, was it a damaging strike? It's again, there's other instances. There was always the famous one I was asked multiple times, the Nicky Holston v. Congo fight, when he took the liver kick. Now, Nicky went down, and obviously the question was, half the audience, that was a knockdown, half, no, it wasn't. Now, in my opinion, at that split second, I deemed that more of a slip. If you look at how Nicky slid across the floor and bounced up, again, when he received the kick, there's no expression of pain. He didn't double up, and he's straight back up. So, and this is where we use the discretion, and we look at it from all aspects and how the fight is going. And we'll wave it off, as you've seen it multiple times. I will wave off what I don't deem as a definitive knockdown or a damaging strike. We also have to take into account, was the fighter fully balanced? Because again, a fighter can take sometimes, at that point, when Nicky received his, he was checking the kick. So both soles of the feet weren't firmly grounded. So again, would he have gone down if both soles of the feet were firmly grounded? So these are the questions that we have to look for.
Do you go back and watch your fights and sometimes
Every time.
Do you go back and say, I should have called that a knockdown, or vice versa?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm my biggest critic, and again, it's how we learn, it's how we evolve. Every fight is different, so I will always review them, and I also, there's a very select audience that I will phone and ask their honest opinion. And it's constructive criticism. If I haven't made the call correct, I'll take that on board, and it's a learning exercise. We learn every day.
What's the most difficult part of your job?
Difficult. Keeping the emotions between the fighters professional, I'd have said. Trying to not make it too personal, and just ensuring that they adhere to the rules, pretty much. From a glory perspective, the most difficult is enforcing the clinch. It's time and time again trying to enforce the no clinch rule.
Take us back to Glory in Holland just a couple weeks ago. Michael Duke, that fight, you eventually just said he obviously doesn't want to fight. Is that basically what it boiled down to?
Yeah, it was. I mean, there was obviously the first warning, and then there was followed by 2 further warnings. At the end of the day, if a fighter is continuing to clinch, he's not allowing his opponent to attack fairly, which, it constitutes as a foul all the time. So that's what we're there to do. We have to enforce the rules. And if it's clear and evident that it's not going to progress, and allow the attacking fighter to use all the tools that he has, we've got to step in and make the call.
And one other thing I've noticed, I think it happened this either in Holland or in Denmark, a fighter turned his back on his opponent, was injured in some way, or was kind of, oh, this hurt, and you gave him it looked like a standing 8 count.
That's correct.
Should you have done that?
Again, it's we err on the side of caution. So when, and I recall the fight exactly, so at the given point of when it happened, I didn't know whether it was self-inflicted. So what I did was, it's benefit of the doubt. The way that he turned, I wasn't 100% sure whether he was turning and walking away because he had had enough and he didn't want to continue with the fight, or whether it was a self-inflicted injury. If it's a self-inflicted injury, we have to give him that count.
Now, what's self-inflicted mean? He punched himself in the face?
No. So self-inflicted, they can twist the ankle, twist the knee.
Right.
I remember the very, very first bout that I refereed for Glory, which was Paris 28. First fight, first round, the guy threw his shoulder out. So he basically popped his shoulder out, indicated holding his shoulder, indicated that he'd self-inflicted injury. So again, the opposing fighter, send him to the neutral corner and you begin the count. As it transpires, he was okay to continue. But if I recall, I think it finished in the second round.
So there are no standing 8 counts unless there's a self-inflicted wound.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay. And last question, what's the one, maybe it is the knockdown rule, what's the one rule that fans, maybe commentators, constantly get wrong and judge you on and get you mad where you're like, listen, these guys don't know what they're talking about?
And it's about the standing count. The amount of calls I've got, messages, it's like, why didn't you interject and give him a standing count, to prolong the fight? There is no standing 8 count. It's not K1, it's Glory. The idea is to knock your opponent out. It's not for the referee to interject, to give them time out, to recover, to regain, and then for the fight to continue.
Well, it's interesting because I've called WWE, I've called boxing, kickboxing, MMA, and it seems like kickboxing, there's the most pressure on referees to actually help the fight go and help the fight be action. UFC, sometimes the refs will stand them up, but you guys constantly have to make sure these guys are getting it on because it's only a 3-round fight.
That's correct. It's about, if you introduce the standing count, it's about the longevity, trying to keep that fight going and going. At the end of the day, we see it, Glory 35 Nice, the heavyweight tournament. I know that he fought out of Coliseum, and he took, a heavy shin kick. I think it's one of the Wilmus brothers.
Yeah, Jafar Wilmus.
Yeah, and, he took the shin kicks to the head, and he was pretty much standing there dazed. He was rocking. But again, if that had been K1, I would have interjected at that given point and given him a standing count. But it's not. It's Glory. Yeah. Hence, I stepped back, and the next thing you know, it's crack, and he's hit the canvas and didn't make the count. But that's the rules, and that's what we have to adhere to.
Well, hey, you do a great job when all things are said and done. Obviously, we're going to have our issues with you, but that's the nature of the beast, right? No one's going to agree with you 100% of the time.
Absolutely, the thing that I always say is, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but unfortunately, it's my opinion that counts.
Boom, mic drop. All right, Paul.
Yeah.
Thanks for the time, man. You look great. Can't wait to see you in Paris. Talk to you soon.
Okay, man. Take care. All Cheers. Right.
Bye. So there you have it, Joe. Are you more educated now on what is and what is not a knockdown?
Well, I still think I'm very confused in general. I mean, I think a lot of those calls that these referees have to make are just on a split second, so it's very difficult. But, man, the glove touching the ground as a flash knockdown versus knockdown, I think it's very tough. But I think that rule could be there to protect these referees because it's very hard to see everything. And, man, it's tough. That's the one position I don't want to be in. I honestly think it's one of the most difficult. No matter what happens, half of the people are going to hate you. So that's not very good odds.
Yeah. Hey, well,
it's kind of like us. Even with us calling fights sometimes, I mean, sometimes when we have to pick the winners.
Right. I would say
half the people hate us.
I would say 80% of the people hate me. You're being too generous, but I'll take half. Thank you. Hey, I've got to give a shout out here. I don't think I've done this before, but I got to give credit right now to Myrtle Grunhart. Let me tell you why. Because
Absolutely.
He won a contender tournament, right? He thought he was going to be next to fight Doumbé. And they said, nope, you're not going to fight Doumbé next. We're going to put you in a fight against Harut Grigorian, right? He said, fine, I'll fight him. Well, Harut gets hurt, so they change his opponent on like a week's notice. And what does Myrtle say instead of, no, I'm not fighting him? He goes, bring him on. He beats him, thinking I'll fight for the welterweight championship next against Doumbé. They go, nope. You're fighting again. You're going to fight Harut Grigorian in 3 weeks in Paris. And you know what he says? Bring it on. I mean, that is a fighter's heart. That is a champion. Those are the kind of fighters we need not just in kickboxing, but around the world. Those are the guys that bring it. So props to Myrtle Grunhart for what he's doing for this sport and for what he's doing for his legacy, because people won't forget this stuff.
Well, it's big because he's been around so long, too, and he's fought everyone in the world. It's tough for him to stay motivated and active, and all he wants is that title. So he's chasing that title. And the funny thing is, even his last fight, he's fought Nikki, 3 times now?
Yeah.
And now their last fight, he was like, you know what? Never again. This is over. We're not going to have this fight again. What's going to happen if Nikki wins, Grunhart wins? We see number 4, which
wow.
I mean, it's crazy.
But he could have easily have said, hey, I'm not going to fight Harut Grigorian. I've already earned my title shot by winning this contender tournament. I'm just going to sit back and wait for it to happen, which UFC fighters do all the time. But instead, he's going to fight twice in 3 weeks.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, so big ups to Myrtle Grunhart. Let's break down that fight against Harut Grigorian, who had to pull out of their first scheduled meeting because of an injury.
Broken toe or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't think Grunhart thought that was a valuable excuse to pull out, but man, a broken toe is a tough thing to go past, but who knows?
So what happens in the ring? What happens in the ring?
What happens there with what? This fight with
Harut? Grunhart and Grigorian.
I think it's going to be fireworks. I think Grunhart has the option now. I think it's going to come down because we know Harut has one way of fighting, and he's going to come forward. He's going to try to land his power shots. Where I think it's going to come down to how Myrtle decides to take this, which I think with Myrtle's aggression, mindset, I think he's just going to come forward. So I think these two are just going to clash. That's my prediction. I think they're just going to clash.
Another interesting matchup is Sergey Adamchuk, who was stunned beyond belief that he lost to Pet Panamarung. So too was his coach Mike Passinier out of the Netherlands. They both were shocked that Pet Panamarung's kicks were valued more than Adamchuk's punches. But either way, he's back in the ring. He takes on Dylan Salvador. Your thoughts, Joseph?
Well, Salvador's last fight was against Sidichai at lightweight. He's coming down to his natural weight. He's going to featherweight to take on Adamchuk. I think it's a tough fight. Both very technical. Both southpaws, which is always makes for an interesting fight because southpaws are used to fighting orthodox fighters. So it's actually different for a southpaw to fight another southpaw. But I think it's a technical fight, and we're just going to see high class. Do I have a prediction for that one? Not at all. I think it's very, very evenly matched.
50-50 fight.
Not much more to say about that. I think Salvador's more experienced than Adamchuk, but Adamchuk has that power, go-forward style. I don't know. To me, that's a toss-up. I really can't pick a winner on that one. What's your thoughts?
If you're coaching Adamchuk, considering he's been on the wrong side of a couple decisions, do you change your style at all, or do you say it's just a matter of time before these judges start to figure it out?
Well, he was getting all of these decisions before. I don't know what the difference is now. When he first started in Glory, he was just winning all of his fights, and then all of a sudden he's been getting some bad luck in his last recent fights. But for him, maybe it means to be more active. Maybe it means to sit in the pocket a little bit more, exchange more, put more power, and get, because when he first came in, he brought in a lot of that power style where you really saw him coming in, use hard low kicks, but then he kind of went with more footwork and movement. So I want to see that, Adamchuk that comes forward and really looks to land his power combinations. I think he needs to really put on a big performance here to solidify his position as the top. So
and let's not forget Salvador is French. We're fighting in Paris. A lot of French fighters on the card. What's it like to be there in Paris for kickboxing? Outside of the Netherlands, Paris might be our biggest market.
I think so, because I think the French fighters are really putting it on. You got to think Salvador was a title contender. Freddie Camayo did a good job at, in his light heavyweight fight. We have Zinedine Hammerlane from France, Nicolas Wamba. There's just good talent all over in France, and they're performing, and the audience and the crowd has been amazing. They've been one of our biggest draws outside of maybe Holland. So, yeah, let's keep going to France.
And we've got, as always on Glory, we've got a contender tournament. I know you're especially excited about this one. Why?
Why? Because there's 3. I don't know one of the fighters in it yet, but we get to see Chris Baya back, who had no one thought he would come and beat Josh Johnson, which was crazy. So I'm excited to see Baya back. Moiseev, another perfect fighter to be in this tournament, has been on some unlucky decisions, so he's back. You know, Nicholas Larson. Again, we could talk days about that guy.
I love Larson. We love Larson.
Yeah, we got nice shirts. The I Am With Larson shirt.
He did give us a free T-shirt. Hey, free T-shirts go a long way. Any fighter who's watching right now, bring me and Joe a free T-shirt. We're not going to shit on you during commentary. We're going to love you.
That's it.
Yeah.
We'll maybe move you from that 80% to that 20%.
Yeah, man. So how are things going up there in Toronto? I know you're having dinner with John Franklin tonight. We're trying to get a Glory card in Toronto coming up late fall. What's the latest?
Well, I think we're right now looking at different venues to have it here. I don't want to spoil any of the news. I don't know what I can and can't share, but it's looking positive. So all the Canadians and Torontonians out there, expect a Glory card this year. So I'm excited. It's a dream come true for me. And I think the city is really going to stand up and show. And I think eventually it's going to be my job to make sure that Toronto becomes the new hotspot for kickboxing.
Now, people may not know, but kickboxing, professionally at least, is not allowed in Toronto. What's the latest on that?
Well, we have a new commissioner that is helping with the language because years ago, I don't know, it's a long story. It's years ago in legislation, they put this terminology that kind of excluded kickboxing with low kicks. The old commissioner didn't want to change the rules in the language. There's new commissioners coming in. So things are happening. It sounds so weird that we have UFC.
It's ridiculous.
We couldn't have kickboxing yet.
And they're worried about low kicks? They don't worry about UFC guys kicking each other in the face?
They must have watched my low kicks. That's why.
They're dangerous.
Dangerous weapons.
Now, you know I've been a big proponent of, if we come to Toronto, you having one final match against Kareem Ben Mansour, headline the Super Fight Series. What's the latest on that? Is that at least a remote possibility?
I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I train in that your thoughts flashes in my head. And when I'm standing still, I would love to. Don't get me wrong. I would love to. Let's say it. I'm possibly thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe. Let's keep everyone interested.
Yeah, let's keep everyone interested. If you guys ever have a question you want me to ask Joseph here on the podcast, reach out to me on Twitter at Grisham MMA, or Joe, if you want to give them your handle, they can contact you directly, can they not?
Yeah, at Bazooka Joe V. But even on the YouTube, if you're watching through YouTube or the other, you can always put some comments in. Maybe ask people you want to see some questions about Todd Grisham. We'll see.
There's always questions about Todd Grisham.
How was your UFC?
Check out gloryshop.com. We got some new gear you can wear, especially that Glory 41 Holland shirt. It's got the lion on it, like this. Really cool shirt.
That's one of my favorite shirts. People at my gym were trying to steal it.
Yeah, it's a great shirt. Awesome. Well, all right, buddy. Hey, I'll see you in Paris here in a couple days. And who's our special guest next week? I know we're going to have a fighter on the show. I don't know who it's going to be yet. Is it going to be Doumbé?
Maybe. He'd be fun to have on.
Holskin?
Another good guy to have on.
They're all good.
We've had Grunhart.
I'm waiting to say a name and you go, no, he'd be bad to have on.
Who would be bad?
Yeah, who would not be good? You know who wouldn't be good? Dylan Salvador, whose English is not that bad, but at the weigh-ins for his last fight.
Yeah, I remember that.
I called him in front of everybody, and I said, all right, Dylan, in English, how excited are you to get this opportunity against Sittachai? And he just stares at me, a blank stare, and would not talk.
He made you look bad.
And everyone starts laughing at him, and he starts speaking French and then stumbles away. And I go, what happened? He goes, I didn't want to do English. I didn't know what to say.
You basically told him to get out of here after.
Yeah, I said, I did say that. I said, get out of here.
Get out of here, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, at least all you got to say is, I'm very excited about the opportunity, and I hope that I can please the fans. But his English is better than my French, that's for sure.
Are you going to ask him a question again or no? Did he lose his chance?
Well, now he can speak French because we're in France, so I'm sure he'll be completely fine with that.
True?
I don't know. All right, buddy. Can't wait to see you. Excited about that Doumbé Holskin fight. Those don't come around too often, those 50-50 title fights.
You going 50-50 on it, eh?
Oh, you're not? What are you going?
No, I'm just saying, hey, why you take it? You just got excited there. But no, I think I got to go 50-50. But like I said, that fight depends on Nicky and the type of fight he brings.
Wait. Why were you calling me out for going 50-50 and then you say 50-50?
I don't know. I'm just trying to create some heat here.
So you're not going to go 41. You're not going to go 51-49 for Doumbé?
Depends the Nikki.
Oh,
then.
come on. For God's sake, Joe.
Nikki. If we create a situation and you say, okay, this Nikki comes out, and then I might be able to switch my percentage.
How about this? What you know right now, going into the fight, gun to your head, who's 51-49?
If Nikki fights the same way he fought last time, Doumbé by decision.
If Nikki fights the night of his
the same way, if he waits too long, if he's constantly just looking for single counter shots, I gotta go with Doumbé by decision. If Nikki comes out a little bit more active, a little bit more aggressive, stays in the pocket, really looks to use his low kicks and hits the body well, and then I can give that 51-49 Nikki Holtzky.
All right. I think either way it's going the distance. I don't see either guy getting a knockout. That's
I agree.
Just me. All right, brother. We'll end the show on an agreement. That doesn't happen too often.
No. We'll probably argue about it another few more times, but we're good.
Thanks for watching the official Glory Kickboxing podcast. Make sure you keep it around for, the day before or maybe 2 days before Glory 42 in Paris. We'll be dropping a new one with special guest, ? We don't know who it is yet, but it'll be good. We'll see you then, everybody.
See
Take care.
who you want. Write down who you want.